I want you to pick up one hand, please. When you get really uncomfortable, you pick up both hands. Okay, Dov, you good? Okay. Okay, here we go. Okay, now we're 3 feet away, 4 feet away. Dovid's starting to feel nervous. The research shows that the best time for Dovid to get away from me now, if he feels uncomfortable, is now. I'm sorry. Thank you, Rabbi. The research shows, and the reason I asked Dovid up here is because I want you to, this is the most important thing to understand about the whole parasha. That right now, I'm not in Dovid's space. I didn't encroach on his space. I didn't do anything inappropriate. I have plausible deniability. I just like your nice shirt, right? But he is comfortable. He doesn't have to excuse himself to me. He doesn't have to say, well, I got to go right now. He just picks himself up and leaves. But, you got one hand up? Let's go. Tell me when the other hand goes. Okay. I'm in his, imagine that he's a 7-year-old kid. And I'm much bigger than him. He's in my galva, he's in my 1 amma. So at this point, thank you, Dovid. At that point, when I'm in his space, the research shows that it's very for adults to leave. Adults find it, isn't it? If I was sitting right next to you, and you sit next to somebody and go, listen, I'm sorry, bad. But if you're enough space away, if you look in the book, one of the things we show is we show a kid running. That's when you gotta go. So you train your children. If it doesn't feel right, get out, scream, run out of the room. I don't care. That's your right. Run to an adult. That is the message. If you're not uncomfortable, nobody has the right to make you feel uncomfortable. And if you're uncomfortable, get out right away. There's and there are many derivatives and permutations of this and different things that you can say, but that's the basic idea. And one of the things that you can be creative and tell your kids other things. I remember a Chassidish guy in Borough Park called me a few months ago and told me that he told his kid was 11 years old. Let me take questions now. His kid was 11 years old, and he told his kid that if somebody locks you in a room, if you're in a locked room with somebody and you're feeling uncomfortable, look at your watch and say, "Oi, mein Tata kimt, my father's coming," and just yell loud, "Oi, Tati's do, Tati kimt," and he said, then just run out of the room. So his boy Nebuch was in the shul basement in Borough Park, and a guy locked him in, and a predator, Nebuch, who had molested another kid the day before. And he got him in the room, and the kid knew exactly what to do. He very calmly says, "Oi, Tati," his father was nowhere, his father was Manhattan. He says, "Oi, Tati's do, my father's in, you gotta go." So this training works, even though you can't imagine that they'll do it when the pressure's on. So these are the messages. Tell them to your kids. Hashem will give you mazel and bracha and a lot of nachas. Thank you very much.
Dovid Kohn, thank you so much. Alex Grant, thank you. Victor Silver, thank you. I'd like to welcome Sheila. You want to welcome the council?
Our esteemed Assemblyman Alan Mizell, and a local resident, and our Assemblyman.
I'm sorry I didn't come earlier. I spent over 30 years of my life in the school system. I was a teacher and a supervisor. And I dealt with many of the issues that you talked about. Because in the public schools, we have an enormous problem of molestation. And a lot of it is from family members. So, I mean, everything you said, I've experienced. It's amazing.
Did anybody sit next to you on a bench?
Well, no, but it's true. And it's funny. Before you said about the subway car, I've always that's something that we've known that for years. If you're sitting in the subway car and someone sits down right next to you and the car is empty, you know there's something wrong. And it's happened to me. I have gotten up because I figured there's something wrong with whoever sat down next to me, and I've left. I've gone into another car. what you said about the children, that they listen. I could never get my kids to do what I asked them to do. Like, I'll say, you promised you would clean up. I forgot. But 5 years later, they said, well, when I graduated school, you said that you were going to buy me something or other. So the question is, well, how is it? I asked you to do something like take out the garbage, I asked you to whatever. But 5 years ago, you remembered that I said that if you did well in something, I was going to do something for you. That's unbelievable. What a memory. When did this long-term memory, short-term memory, terrible. The other thing I wanted to say is, you're 100% right. Never go to sleep angry with your spouse. I haven't slept in 25 years. I'm very, very tired. And, but this is, I'd love to talk to you, and if there's something I can do to help, please feel free to get in touch with me.
Thank you. Like we said, people have a chance now to ask questions. For Rabbi Horowitz, for Dovid, for myself, and please feel free, any questions that you want answered. Yes?
I think a common problem today is how far parents go in empowering children. I think it's really a balancing act. How much freedom do we give children to make choices that we don't agree with? And I think the pendulum has been swinging back and forth in this, and I think it's gone to the level that we are giving children incredible power to make decisions on their own. What's your feeling on that?
Okay, I'm going to repeat the question just for the audience, for the don't have a microphone. The question that was raised is that there seems to be a movement about giving children more power, empowering children, and at what point does that become unhealthy? Is that too much power?
It's hard to answer the question. It's so general without getting more specific about the age of the child, where are they at developmentally, and what kind of issue are we talking about. But just some general thoughts about that is that the younger our children are, the more structure and guidance and of an authority we are and we need to be for them. They need us in that role. And that the older they get, the more they need us to teach them how to trust themselves and to make their own decisions and problem solving. So that as time goes on and as they develop, it becomes more, not on everything across the board, it's a general question, but the general idea is that it becomes much more of a collaborative relationship, that we can teach them how to communicate, how to problem solve out loud, how to listen, how to take in feedback, how to think for themselves more critically, how to learn from their mistakes, like Rabbi Horowitz mentioned, and that as children get older, that becomes more and more necessary if we want them to be able to function properly as adults. So those are just general thoughts about that.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I would just follow, thank you, Dovid. One thing I would just follow on that is that the age at which children can do whatever they want and you'll never know about it has gotten younger too. Okay, so just figure out how old does a child have to be today to do anything they want with technology and you'll never know. Pick a number. What do you think that number is?
12.
12, 6, whatever, something like that. I'm saying it 12 for sure. So understanding that this is the case, I always say what the internet changed is that the Yetzer Hara makes house calls now. And then that's why it's so important to keep the children busy, make sure they have hobbies, make sure they're playing ball, make sure they're involved and stuff. The old thinking was have a gadol u'makom Torah. If your kid's not learning, send them to Scranton. What's the worst thing they'll do is get into a fight with a cow. Just get them up on a dirt. I live in Scranton, my family's from there. But, you know what I'm saying? But the thinking was just kind of keep him out of trouble and Baruch Hashem, everything's going to be fine. If he's not learning, okay, whatever. Everybody will get into trouble everywhere if they have free time. I can guarantee you that. So because that reality has changed, it means you have to empower them earlier to be able to teach them how to make good choices and learn from mistakes.
Very brief. I think that there is a skill in allowing children to believe that they have more power than they actually have, so that you're actually the one that's kind of guiding them, but allowing them to believe. This famous parenting technique about giving them two choices, both of which you approve of. Would you like to do this or that? With younger children, it's certainly more effective. Yes?
Do you, if there's a girl or a boy that has a phone and they're like 8th or 9th grade and parents want to punish them, they want to take away the phone, that's the first reaction. How do you feel about that?
Okay, so the question is taking away a phone for a girl or boy in 8th or 9th grade as a punishment.
What generally I would suggest that, and you might want to do some research, parents, you might want to look this up, the whole idea of a consequence as opposed to a punishment. A consequence is a logical outgrowth of what happened. Punishment has nothing to do with it. So you can take the same thing and make it a consequence. I'll tell you something I heard from Rabbi, Dr. Twersky Jr. I've been seeing, my dear friend. He said, if you look in Parshas Yisro, it's really fascinating. Yisro saw all these miracles and everything going on. He says, now I know that Hashem is the Rabbi Shalom. What did he say? Because of Kriyas Yamsuf. The Egyptians got punished midah k'neged midah. Why? Because when it's a midah k'neged midah, people can learn from the punishment or from the consequence. So if they did a chet with the phone, if they did something wrong with their phone, and if they didn't use their phone responsibly, I think it's appropriate to take it away. But it shouldn't be because it's the thing the kid wants most and they're going to scream most about. It's not. If it's not logical, try to do it in a different way. And let's say your kids are fighting in a family room. Go up to your room. Why? You're punished. But if you say, this is public space, everybody can play here. If you can't play with somebody else here, you have to go to a private space, which is your room. It doesn't stick in their throat. They learn something from it. So I would say it's logical if they use their phone irresponsibly. And parents, please don't snoop on your kids. I'm speaking about Motzei Shabbos in Edison, New Jersey. This whole technology thing. Please don't snoop on your kids. You should supervise them, but please tell them that you supervise them. Don't go on the emails and don't check the phones behind their back. It is such a breach of their trust and privacy. And then you're going to turn around 6 months later and say, I can't trust you. You're going to talk about trust. It's so important that we trust each other when you're snooping behind the back. So tell them what you're doing. I'm going to check. Tell them exactly what you're going to do in terms of supervision. Please don't snoop. Sorry, go.
In general, when parents come and they're struggling with behaviors of their kids, I'm almost always able to help them see that more than 90% of the time their children's behavior is predictable. In other words, even when they act out, we can predict more than the majority of the times of what they're going to do or how they're going to do it. And the minority of the times are things that really catch us by surprise and we really, it's a first time kind of situation for us. Most of the situations are not like that. And therefore, since it's predictable, we have the ability and the luxury to sit down and plan for it and to anticipate it and to think about it. So I was trying to talk about some of that earlier, to really parent from the proactive position rather than the reactive position. So part of that proactive position would be to sit down with your child, and obviously the older they are, the more necessary this is, and talk about what will be the consequence of this or that, both positive and negative. And that when the time comes that you do have to deliver the consequence, you refer back to the fact that we had this discussion. You give them the opportunity to come to you and to talk to you about whether they think it's fair. You'd be surprised. Sometimes when kids are older, they have a better idea of what they're willing to take upon themselves as a punishment, and they're willing to take responsibility when we give them the opportunity. We tend to put much too much pressure on ourselves as our children get older in parenting, when it could be much less pressure on us to include them more in that process.
Next question, yeah.
So we understand about consequence when a kid does A, you do B kind of thing. What happens when the kid is disrespectful or doesn't listen to you, not just not listening to what you say, but to your face, kind of gets angry, throws tantrums? How do you deal with that?
Okay, so the question is that sometimes there's a specific behavior that warrants a specific consequence, but what do you do when the behavior is just outright chutzpah, outright disregard for what you're saying?
Anger, basically.
Kids and adults get angry and go bananas when they feel, generally speaking, when you feel powerless. That's when you melt down. You think about it. If you're in control, you generally don't go overboard because you feel that you have. So sometimes saying things like, you can get angry back, and then you just. So sometimes just gently reminding them, use your words. Let's say an expression like that. Use your words very calmly. Use your words, and teach them how to do it. You assume that children know how to do certain things. Most of the times they don't. Why don't you make friends in school? Why can't you clean up your desk? Some of them don't know how. You assume that they do. Most of them don't. But they don't. They might not know how to make a friend. They might not know how to teach dissent. Do you teach? I always encourage parents to teach their kids how to argue with them. you know, how to dissent respectfully, and you give them rules. I'll give you 3, let's say. No raising your voice, you can't tell me no, tell me why it's important. Let's say you make any rules you want. So if you say you gotta be home by 10 o'clock, oh no, I can't, no, sorry, raise your voice, then don't go no. Go back, in 3 minutes you can come back again. You're in control. And then when they come back, you talk to them gently, and then they say, so what it sounds like, you're training them how to talk to you. If you're interested, there's a Covenant Foundation in Manhattan. It's based out of the Crown family in Chicago. We applied to them for a grant. They actually told us how to talk to them. It was so helpful. Tell me what you need. We should do this with Mishalachim. It'll be very helpful. Make like a little form. I'm serious. It was so helpful to me. They told us exactly how to talk to them. I tell us what the need is. Show me some research. Why there's a need. What are you doing about it? Why are you the best one to do it? They told me exactly how to talk to them. I knew what to do. I knew how to write it up. It wasn't far. So you tell your kids, if you want to dissent, and you say, it's okay, you think for yourself, it's fine. Soft voice, tell me why you can't tell me no. Those are just 3 examples, but pick any ones you want. Train them. You have to, you don't have to. I encourage you to think about it in terms of, I have a child that has a temper like most human beings do, and I have to train him how to do it. So by you being calm will help them be calm. And again, always try to think in terms of what don't they know that you think they do, okay?
When I'm working clinically with younger kids, I have a lot of times I make things easy for them to understand that they need to learn therapy, and I make rubber stamps out of it. And then they're able to make all sorts of projects and internalize the message. So one of those rubber stamps is good voice and good words. So that you teach the kids from a young age about the idea of a good voice to use when you're speaking, and also good words. By the time they grow up and they're older, a simple word or 2 is enough to get them to really be keyed in and to know exactly what you're expecting from them. Also, the other thing I wanted to say in response to that question about disrespect is that we as parents have to admit that we oftentimes get our own buttons pressed by our children's behavior, especially when we feel it's disrespectful to us or direct opposition. And as a result of our own buttons getting pressed, we lose our cool, and we're tempted to be reactive. And either we feel the pressure that we need to respond as parents and we can't ignore this, what can we do about this? Or we're just responding out of our own indignation. And it's crucial for us to be brutally honest with ourselves about that, and to know that during that time our job is not to be parents, it's to collect ourselves. We're not doing our kids a favor, and we're not doing ourselves a favor by parenting them in that moment from that place. We need to teach ourselves to have a cool down moment if we want our kids to learn that they need cool down moments too.
Can I just jump in just one last thing? I would also encourage you as parents, the last thing before you blow it, just before you lose it, I found it very helpful with my Talmidim, especially in children, to start with the question first, like, is there anything I'm missing? Or like, is there something I don't know? Like, why are you raising your voice? And maybe let them explain. Is there a reason? Are you upset about something? Is there something? True story. This year in my yeshiva, I was walking the halls the first day of yeshiva, 20 minutes into school starting, right after the summer, and I hear a young kid singing from the bathroom, from the washroom, after he used the facilities. He was sitting washing, singing "Happy Birthday" at the top of his lungs, and I said to myself, "What? Come on, wait till the first recess break." So I was going to go over, Then I was an 8th grade, I taught a base class for 15 years. I was after my chasana, so, I was used to, I trained myself to always ask, is there anything I'm missing? So I called the kid and I said, yes, somebody's birthday today, something I'm missing here, but anything I need to know? I said very respectfully, I said, anything I need to know? So he looks at me and says, yeah, well. I said, why were you singing Happy Birthday on the first day of yeshiva? He says, he walks me back inside. There's a note posted by the nurse, wash your hands with water and sing Happy Birthday, as long as it takes to sing Happy Birthday. And this kid thought, he laughed, he said, ha, Rabbi, don't you see? Look at that. So here I was ready to go give him a, give him a psak, a mafti yoina, when he was doing what I was supposed to. So very often it might be helpful to say, is there a reason that you felt you had to yell? Is there a different way you could have expressed that? I always felt this. If you teach children, you raise them respectfully, they'll learn to be respectful to others. So treat them with respect and try to find out what's going on.
It's unfair to go third, there's not a lot to add, so I'm gonna go to the next question.
You'll go first next time. I'll go third next.
I'm kidding. Yeah.
Okay, I won't.
It's actually directed towards you.
You're sitting too close for that. I'm going over here.
Yeah, you mentioned about creating a fun atmosphere early on. I'm trying to think. You know, sometimes people get raised in a certain home and then they try to promote a different type of atmosphere in their own home, but their grandparents involved and everybody has a different home. People might come across it also when they're in yeshiva, and different kids in yeshiva are from different homes. So you want to obviously make your home a center point where your kids would enjoy being, but they may be seeing other things from different homes and they want it in their home. So how do you deal with keeping your own in your own home and still having
Repeat the question.
Oh, please,
I'm not
please,
answering
by
that.
all means.
Yeah, the question is that one of the points that Rabbi Horowitz had made during his speech was about making your home a fun place to be, a place where your child wants to be. What happens if your child has seen things in other homes that they consider to be fun, but that you might not approve of?
Is that the question, or the other way around?
That's good.
Okay, so look, it's. I'm sorry. Are you saying that you wanted your home to be a little bit not as freewheeling? Is that what you're saying? And
Well, I mean, not necessarily that, but you had originally wanted your home to be a certain way, but now I guess you have to conform to if you
what Horowitz said. Listen, when I was young, I used to be young and naive. Now I'm just young. When our boys were about 9 and 7, 10 and 8. I came home from yeshiva one day and our oldest asked me if he could buy a Nintendo. I'm dating myself, obviously. Okay, he came to me and wanted to know if he should buy a Nintendo. I promise you, I was thinking if I should tear Kriya on the left side or on the right side. I promise you. I said, oh, is my son. He said, shtus, he's going to be by mitzvah. I don't know what I was thinking. Oh, he's by mitzvah, shtus, playing Nintendo. You know, I had this face like, he says, Tati, is anything wrong? I said, why, the tears letting you know, you know. And I said, Shekala, this is like, no way, this is not happening. I love you very much. I'll take you outside to play ball, but there ain't no Nintendo coming in this house, pal. My wife, if any ladies, if you want to know how to manage your husband, give my wife a call. She's great. She's so smart. She didn't say anything. She's Yankee, that's very nice. I think it's beautiful. Okay. And two weeks later, she came over to me and she said, listen, Yankee, I just want you to know, I'm not raising your kids anymore, just so you should understand. You think you're in yeshiva, you think like they're home and they're around the table, and one says, here's what the kids are doing. They come home, they're dropping their bags, and I don't see them for the next 2 hours because they're going to every house that has Nintendo. So if you want to keep to yeshiva, I'm fine. I'm perfectly supportive. I'll follow you anywhere, but just talk to the other people about whatever values you want your kids to have. Talk to the other parents on the block. Okay, you can buy Nintendo. You know, so I'm saying at some point in time, you think, I would encourage you to just rethink, and if this is what you want to do, different homes have different things. You do with pride. We raised our children on a mechanech salary with all the kids on my block. We're balabatim and we're going to fancy midwinter breaks and stuff. Meh, it's okay. You do what you gotta. You do what you do. That's what you do. Okay, so if you want to do things differently, do them. Did I answer your question? I'm taking off the next two.
When it comes in, I think when it comes to anything as family, when we're comfortable with what we do and why we do it, and we're comfortable enough to put it into words, that we can raise our kids and explain to them in a way that's natural and comfortable for us why we do it, then everything's okay. In other words, we're raising our kids in an atmosphere this is why we do things the way we do it. And then there's the possibility to acknowledge that families do things in other ways, and that there's other philosophies and other value systems and other beliefs and other attitudes. But this is the family that we raise and that you grow up in.
I think that also reiterates a very important point, that we're getting two different views, and that is the reality. You're not going to get one view in dealing with an issue like that. You'd have to find a view that makes the most sense for you. You have to be realistic also about where you're sending your child to yeshiva and who their friends are. You don't want to create an outcast and have your child be the only one. If those are the set of hashkafas that you have, they have to be surrounded by those hashkafas. I think we're going to do 2 more questions, Sheena? Yeah? No?
Will you get Horace?
Someone else had their hand up? Or maybe there's no more questions. We've answered it. Yes. Yes.
It was mentioned before about choice of friends, and Rabbi Horowitz mentioned that you can speak a little more about it later on.
What was that?
There was mention before about your child's choice of friends and some tips.
Rabbi Horowitz had promised, apparently, to speak about choice of friends and tips, and didn't fulfill the promise yet, so he's being called on it.
I said I promised if they asked me. I didn't say that.
During adolescence, any normal child, if made to pick between parents and family, will pick, parents and friends, will pick friends 99 out of 100. Don't be insulted, don't get all teary about it, that's just the way it is. Part of it has to do with the way interaction is at that age, they can't get away from their, whatever. For whatever reason it is. That doesn't mean they don't love you, but to get in the way of to go and tell your kids, if you want to go, those friends are bad and stay away from them, it's a lot less painful to slam your finger